My name is Matilda Reckford. I'm the project manager for the EHLS program at the Center for Applied Linguistics, and I'm joined today by Maria Mariani from Georgetown University.
Hi, everybody. I'm Maria. I'm from Georgetown University. I am the Director of Recruitment and the Program Manager for the EHLS program. Welcome.
So during this webinar, we're going to talk about the English for Heritage Language Speakers program, what it offers and its requirements, and we'll get into the details on the application process and talk a little bit about the skills testing, and then we'll provide some tips to keep in mind as applicants apply. So let me do an overview of the program. So EHLS is a scholarship program with a focus on professional English and communication skills and career skills. The program trains advanced speakers of English to be effective communicators and strong candidates for federal jobs. It's hosted by Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. Every scholar admitted to the program receives a full scholarship funded by the federal government. The program is 8 months in length. The first 6 months are full-time on the Georgetown University downtown campus, and the 2 final months are part-time conducted online. Participants are native speakers of critical languages who have a strong interest in public service. EHLS scholars come from diverse cultural, educational, and professional backgrounds, but they are all united by an interest and a commitment to public service. So why EHLS? EHLS was established because critical language skills are in high demand in the US government. There are other government-sponsored programs to teach critical languages to native English speakers, but this is the only program designed to prepare individuals with native knowledge of critical languages for the federal workplace. Now, a brief background on the organization and history of EHLS. EHLS is a partnership between 4 organizations. The Defense Language National Security Education Office, or DELENCIO, provides funding. The Center for Applied Linguistics, where I work, oversees instruction and coordinates the language testing. The Georgetown University provides instruction, and the Institute of International Education oversees the application process. EHLS started in 2006, and 2025 will be the 20th program year. So definitely a milestone for scholars entering in 2025. Scholarship for the EHLS program, like I said, are awarded through the Defense Language National Security Education Office. Each scholarship provides full tuition and fees for the 8-month academic program, in addition to a living stipend. That living stipend is $3,600 a month during the first 6 months of the program, and then $1,200 a month for the 2 online part-time months that are July and August. For scholars moving from outside the Washington, D.C. area, EHLS can reimburse relocation costs up to $1,000. Other benefits include health insurance through Georgetown University and a certificate from Georgetown University upon successful completion of the program. So by the time you're finished with the EHLS program, you'll have compiled a beautiful professional portfolio that includes a well-polished resume, writing samples, US government scale English and heritage language testing, and the certificate from Georgetown University that opens many doors, especially in the DC area. Scholars must also agree to the terms that we have outlined here, so full-time attendance and successful completion of the academic program, agreement not to work during the full-time portion of the academic program, and acceptance of a service requirement after completing the academic program. Now we'll go over our eligibility requirements. So you must be a US citizen at the time of application. You must be a native speaker of one of the languages listed, and you must have a professional level proficiency in that language. You must have advanced proficiency in English, and your proficiency in both English and your native language will be formally tested, and we'll discuss the testing later in this presentation. You must have a college degree, and that's at least a bachelor's degree. You must be able to use the internet, word processing programs, and PowerPoint. You must commit to a full-time day program from January through June in Washington, D.C. at Georgetown University. And you must be willing to work for the federal government for 1 year in a position with national security responsibilities. It will be your responsibility to find that position. So now I will pass it over to Maria to talk about the service requirement.
Okay, so let's take a look here. Service requirements. Scholars are required to fulfill 1 year commitment to work for the federal government, but we really are interested in folks that want to make a career of federal work. But I do need to emphasize that it is the scholar's responsibility to search for and secure a position within the federal government with national security responsibilities. You will have a lot of support from our instructors in the career skills development class, but ultimately it is your job search, and we are a university and not a job placement agency. Their job search is the focus after completing the intensive portion of the program. And good faith effort. Okay, what does good faith effort mean? Well, you will need to document and keep track of all the jobs and positions that you have applied for, and you are required to keep a log, and the instructor will teach you how to use the log and how to keep track of everything. Okay, let's go to the next slide, fulfilling the service requirement. So notice we have 3 tiers here, 3 broad tiers of service, and they're listed in descending order of preference. So let's start with tier 1. So the tier 1 positions, they include the 4 priority areas, as you see here. EHLS scholars are required to begin their job search within these departments. Any civilian or foreign service positions within these departments will count towards your requirement. You don't necessarily need to be in a language-enabled position. Scholars work in diverse fields, including cyber, finance, acquisition, in addition to foreign affairs. And we encourage you to think broadly about where you might be able to apply your skills. Please note, as far as State Department is concerned, we're not a stepping stone to a foreign service officer position. The State Department is mainly interested in EHLS scholars to fill language instructor positions at FSI, the Foreign Service Institute. This is where most of our scholars land jobs at State. Okay, so if you are not able to find a job in tier 1, okay, you weren't able to find a suitable position in tier 1, then you can then expand your job search to include positions in tier 2, positions in the greater federal government with national security responsibilities, and that's key. Some past scholars have found jobs in other agencies, but the position needed to have national security responsibility, and it was up to the scholar to make the case to our funder, Delencio, or formerly known as NSEP. So when you hear me say NSEP, that's our funder, Delencio. NSEP has a very broad understanding of national security, including issues of population, migration, public health, diplomacy, and economic competitiveness. For example, we have one scholar who fulfilled their service requirement at the Department of Commerce, and I think that scholar is still there. Okay, let's go to tier 3. So if you were not able to find anything in tier 1 and 2, tier 3 will then apply, but it only applies if you have exhausted your searches in the other 2 tiers. Okay, how about some examples of where alumni have worked, the EHLS scholars? So look at this. They're really diverse positions ranging from language instructors to doing programmatic management and intelligence work. And these are just a few. Remember, we've been doing this for 19 years, and a few years we've had double cohorts. So there are a lot of EHLS scholars out there. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So fulfilling your service requirement. In the career skills class, Fridays are reserved for HR representatives from different agencies to come and meet our scholars and present the opportunities available to them in their agency. Many times they will give out their cards, emails to the scholars. Also, they may even accept your resume, or if you've applied to that agency, they might even offer to track your application. This is an incredible benefit. So as a scholar, you get notification of exclusive job openings through that INSEP that I mentioned. And this is following the completion of the intensive portion of the program. So after their 6 months, many scholars have gotten great jobs through these exclusive postings. And it's amazing because some of these jobs, they only go out to like 300 or 400 people. So as opposed to if you were going to do this applying, if you were going to apply on your own. And scholars have a special hiring advantage, which is called Schedule A. And what Schedule A means is that if an agency wants you and your expertise, they can fast track you, and they can, speed up your application without going through a lot of that or the red tape. This does not mean that they will speed up your security clearance. Your security clearance still, will have to go through the normal, route. Okay, let's take a look at the academic program. So if you want more information about the service requirement, we recommend tuning into what to expect during and after EHLS webinar, and that's on our website. And you can check that out. But now for the academic portion of the program. So let's go to the goals of the academic program. We work with all 4 of your skills: English, reading, writing, listening, and speaking. We also work on your professional skills such as resume writing, dressing for success, delivering a 1 to 2 minute elevator speech, interview skills, appropriately navigating different hierarchical workplace relationships. So we really, it's really a professional English program. So we work on everything. Okay, let's look at the special features. We have guest speakers that come to teach, for example, how to write a federal style brief and how to write for the federal government, because it's different from academic writing. How to deliver an oral brief to a high-level governmental official. And then the News Analysis Project, or the OSAP, is our capstone project. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that is a wonderful opportunity to do some work with the assistance of our faculty. We have weekly guest recruiters that come from different agencies to speak to you about opportunities in their agencies. So it's filled with a lot of amazing things. But let's look at the foundation of the curriculum. In the news analysis class, you're assigned articles to read and taught how to do critical analysis of the news. Each scholar might, for example, report on a news piece from their area of the world to the entire class on any given day. Or maybe the instructor will ask everyone to look in the newspapers that they can read about something that's happening in the world, and then everyone reports back to see how the news is delivered in different countries. So it sounds like an exciting class. I wish I could take it. In the reading and writing class, you learn how to write reports, do research, drawing sound analytical conclusions. In your POC, which is the professional oral communications class, you're making presentations on a daily basis. And many times the instructor is recording you and making comments for you to review as you watched your tape presentations. By the time the OSAP presentation comes around, our scholars are well prepared and having had so many practice sessions, and everyone does amazingly well. And people look like news anchors. That's how great they look and perform. We make you comfortable with emails and email protocol. We even have a negotiation component where, and we teach you how to run effective meetings. By the time you're halfway through the program, you have a beautifully perfected resume to submit to future employers. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, we've already spoken about the professional oral communications, news analysis, and career skills development classes. We have found that throughout the years, 19 that we've been in existence, 2025 will be our 20th year, as Matilda said. And after the 6 months full time, we found that everyone still needs help with writing and the career skills development class. So several years ago, we added these two courses as online courses for an additional 2 months. And while you are in the 6-month intensive program, you cannot work, and you sign an affidavit for that agreement not to work. And actually, it would be impossible to hold a job, even a part-time job, and successfully complete the program because it is so intensive. But during the part-time online 2-month program, you can work and get a job since it's online. And Matilda, did you want to say something about that?
Yes, and in addition, in those 2 months, you are required to stay in the US until August 2025.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's take a look at the open source analysis project. The analysis project, or OSAP as we call it, is our capstone project. This is your chance as an EHLS scholar to shine and show off your knowledge and skills. You work with a mentor from one of the agencies on a topic provided by them specifically for you, which will relate heavily to your native language and area of the world. Perhaps your mentor is an expert in that area of the world, but does not have the native language capacity and the cultural knowledge that you as a native might have. You would provide that knowledge in doing research, and you are an asset to your mentor. You get to do research on the topic in your native language and other languages that you know, if it's applicable. For example, we had one scholar 1 year from the Maghreb who did their research in Arabic, French, Tamashek, and of course, English. Many scholars get job offers as a result of their OSAP research and presentation at the big symposium that we have. And many scholars bring copies of their written report to that symposium to give out to interested parties in the audience. Sometimes, past years, people have gotten multiple offers. So it's pretty amazing. Okay. So that was the OSAP. Outcomes and benefits of participating in the program. One of the things that everyone says is the benefit of the program is that they feel that they have improved their confidence in English. And many actually say that it is kind of a metamorphosis that they experience. And I've been with the program for its entirety for 19 years, and I can say it is truly a metamorphosis, and it's an amazing thing to see. We test your skills in English before, during the program, at the beginning of the program, midpoint, end of the program. By the time you're finished with the EHLS, you will have compiled a beautiful professional portfolio that includes a well-polished resume, writing samples, your OPI scores, the U.S. government scale English and Heritage test scores, a certificate from Georgetown that opens doors. And I must mention the EHLS program is a non-degree, non-credit program. one benefit that they don't say on this, the chart that you're seeing, you get to meet people from all over the world, from countries that maybe you've never even heard of, and they become lifelong friends. And I think that's an amazing benefit, personally. Okay, and now we're going to go over, I'm going to hand this over to Matilda and how to apply.
Great. Yes. Let's go over how to apply. Oops. Let's see. All right. So there are 2 stages to the application process. All candidates complete stage 1, while only some candidates will be invited to stage 2. So in the stage 1, there's steps 1 to 3. So step 1, you prepare your application. Step 2, you submit your application and your supporting documents. And step 3, you complete your oral proficiency interview in English. And then step 4 is our provisionally selected candidates, and they take language and technology tests virtually, and then receive notifications of their results and their application status. So these are the important dates. The application is currently available, and you can check our website and learn more about the program and get your application started. The deadline for your application and your supporting documents is 5 p.m. Eastern Time on June 18, 2024. Once your application is submitted and considered complete, then applicants are invited to schedule an oral proficiency interview in English. These interviews are administered through July 12th. But we highly recommend to submit your application early so that you can schedule your OPI as soon as possible and you can receive a time that works with your schedule. And then EHLS staff notifies candidate of their status in September. Some candidates will be provisionally selected and they will move on to skills testing. In late September to early October, these provisionally selected candidates complete the language testing and the basic technology skills test, and then also complete an additional English oral proficiency interview in your critical language. So that happens in September, October. And then EHLS notifies candidates of their final status in early November of 2024, and then the program will start January 6th of 2025. So here are the stage 1 steps. There's your online application, there's your supporting documents, and then once you've submitted at by 5 p.m. on the 18th, you'll have until the 12th, July 12th, to complete an oral proficiency interview, and you'll get notified after your application is submitted on how to complete that. So what are the supporting documents? So these include the resume and transcript. So foreign degrees must be evaluated, and you will need to contact an accredited evaluation service for this evaluation. There's an example, like WES would be an accredited evaluation service. We list on our website some other accredited evaluation service, and you can definitely reach out to us if you want some help on that. So after you've received that evaluation, you will need to upload it to the application system. These evaluations sometimes can take a long time, can take up to 2 months. So start early to avoid missing the deadline. You also must select at least 1, but we recommend 2 professional references. So those are people who will write a recommendation letter to you. So you will enter their contact information into the online application system, and then the system will reach out to them for them to fill in your recommendation. If possible, 1 recommendation could be from a current supervisor. You may also consider former supervisors or professors. Keep it professional. We suggest that you do not choose family members or personal friends. So then you will receive an automated email confirming the submission of your application. Then it will be reviewed by IIE, the Institute of International Education, to make sure it's complete. And then it will make sure that you have at least one recommendation as well. And then you will receive an email with the step-by-step instructions on scheduling and completing your oral proficiency interview. So once your application is submitted, you can proceed to the oral proficiency interview, or OPI. So you cannot schedule your OPI until you've completed all the components of the EHLS application and it has been reviewed for completion. This might be a little different for people applying maybe for a second time. If they might still have a valid OPI from a previous year, and then they could reach out to us and we could let you know if it's valid and if you can use it after you've submitted your application. So we will email this step-by-step email to schedule your OPI, and then they will be administered by Language Testing International. So the OPI is going to be a 30 to 45-minute telephone interview that you can take from your home. You'll also need to be connected virtually with a proctor as you're on the phone with your test administrator. These OPIs are going to be administered through July 12th, but your application has to be submitted by 5 p.m. on the 18th. And like I said, I suggest that you submit your application as early as possible so that you can secure a date and have plenty of time to schedule your oral proficiency interview. You have to complete this OPI by 11:55 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, July 12th, 2024. You cannot reschedule an OPI within 24 hours of the scheduled test time. A missed OPI will not be rescheduled, and applicants must meet the minimum standard of an ILR 2. If not, you will be disqualified and notified of the decision. Now a little bit about stage 2. So up to 50 provisionally candidates will be invited to the skills testing. The tests will be administered virtually as well. And then your OPI and your critical language will also be via phone with a virtual remote proctor using your laptop or computer. And then you'll also be tested on your basic technology skills. There's a link here to our website. We have a small self-assessment that can give you an idea of the types of skills that you can expect in that basic technology skills test. And then we will offer offers of admission in November 2024. We anticipate selecting 18 scholars. So this is a competitive program. We expect around 200 applications every year. And then about 50 provisionally candidates will move on to stage 2. And then we'll end up with 18 scholars in January 2025 in the 2025 cohort. Now some tips. For stage 1, use the information from your resume to complete the employment section of the application. The information you fill in the application should be consistent with your resume. Think about making it easy for your application reviewers to understand your education, your work history. Make sure to explain any gaps, kind of try and think of it as kind of an easy to read, easy to understand narrative as much as you can for your application reviewer. Then gather your transcript and those documents as soon as possible. Like I said, if it's from a foreign institution, it has to be evaluated and translated. And then it has to show that it's an equivalent to a US bachelor's degree if it's a foreign degree. And like I said, we have a link to those evaluation services on our website. And they are also listed in the application. And then ask for references early. You will list the reference name and their contact information, and then we will send an email to them directly from the application. And then they will fill out a reference form and submit a letter and they will need to do this on their own once you input their information. And you will not be able to upload a reference on their behalf, a reference letter. So we recommend that you reach out to the references ahead of time, let them know about the program, explain how they can make an argument for you being a great fit to this program. And then, of course, we recommend submitting your application sooner rather than waiting so that you can get your oral proficiency interview scheduled. Okay, so stage 1, there's more tips on our website. And then, so this is kind of the path on the website you would go to. Is EHLS for me? Eligibility criteria. And then we have these selection criteria posted here. So these are very helpful to review before you write your essays. And it's important that you clearly demonstrate your interest in working for the federal government in those essays. So make sure you do some research ahead of time on what that would look like for you. So this is what it looks like on the website. You can just click on the selection criteria and look at each criteria, and this is how you'll know what reviewers will be looking for when they review your essays. In stage 2, like I mentioned, we have some information about the skills testing, including what those tests will look like and what the technology skills tests will look like. And we also link to the Interagency Language Roundtable Scale. So like I said, for entry into the program, you need a minimum of a level 2 on that scale. And you can look it up on their website and see what that looks like and kind of prepare based on those requirements. And if you get to the stage of getting to do your oral proficiency interview in your native language, then the requirement is a level 3 on that scale. So you can also check out what that looks like. And finally, follow us on social media. This is where we announce more of these information sessions. And like Maria said, we have a really detailed one coming up on the service requirement, on what happens after the EHLS program. We have a bunch of Q&As happening here. These are the ones upcoming the soonest, where we have a bunch of Q&As with alumni, and you could see what their experience was like applying, and then during the program and after the program. I think our general recommendation is the more you know about the program, the more successful your application will be. And we're here to help. We're really here to help you as much as we can to have a successful application. So you can contact Maria on any questions regarding the curriculum, the schedule, and Georgetown facilities. You can contact me for any questions on OPI scheduling and language testing, and our colleague Meredith at IIE for any questions on the online application system. Of course, if you reach out to any of us, we will reroute and make sure your question gets answered. But yeah, don't hesitate to reach out with any questions, and we definitely have some time now, in the Q&A, if we can take some time to answer any of your questions.
So, Matilda, I did answer some questions, but others I thought would be best to answer live. So you can take a look.
Okay, yeah, so I see the first question on how to prepare for OPI interviews. And how do ILR levels roughly translate to IELTS score? That's a good question. There's no official translation of what those scores would look like across these different scales. The ILR scale was really designed for the workplace, for the federal workplace, and that proficiency and those capabilities. So they have they're measuring very different things, basically. And so the scale goes from 0 to 5 with plus levels in between. Yeah, it's hard to say exactly how they're translated, but you can see on their website how they define those, and they explain in a lot of detail what speaking in an ILR level 2 means, what writing in ILR level 2 means. And so that's definitely a good step to prepare. I think of a lot of our alumni or other people who've taken the test that have told us they've prepared by reading the news, listening to the news, um, both for the English OPI and their critical language, because you might not be speaking your critical language every day, and so you might want to kind of listen to kind of current events and things like that as well. So I hope that helps with that question. Should the transcript be only through the educational evaluation agencies that were mentioned on the website? That's a good question. I
Maybe
think
that's a question for Meredith. I don't
yeah,
know.
I think the best way to make sure, if you're kind of in that step right now of deciding that this is the evaluation agency that you want to use, or maybe you've already have a transcript from a specific agency and you don't know if it's exactly one that's on our website. That's typically a great question, and you can, call or email us, and then we can reroute to Meredith at IIE, or just Meredith directly, who can let you know on those questions of, is my evaluation ready to go? Is this what I need? She'll be happy to answer those.
Yeah, we don't want to give you the wrong information, so it's better to ask her.
Yeah. And I see another question on the transcript or evaluation. I believe you actually have to upload the evaluation. I don't think we work with them sending us directly the evaluation. I think you have to have something that you upload yourself once you're in the application portal. Will you share this meeting with us? Yes. So we're recording this session now, and we'll post it on YouTube, and that way you can follow along, come back to any information that you might have missed. And this is also the case for any upcoming Q&A or webinar that we'll be having. Like I said, we'll be having some webinars on other topics, other more specific aspects of the program. One that will be more focused on the service requirement and anything during and after the EHLS program. So during, also going in more detail into the instruction, the program schedule, the classes, and then one on applying for EHLS, and we'll have a lot more tips and information on the application process. And those will be recorded. And then, do we take the writing and reading test in person? So every test is going to be virtual. The writing and reading specifically will be virtual on your computer with a proctoring system to make sure that test is secure for you. And then where to find helpful material for language testing preparation. Yeah, I think the best place to start would be the ILR website. And then news and any other outlets for language, development and learning. I think, yeah, reading the news, listening to the news, the radio, getting as much exposure as you can, and practice also. Reach out to anyone who might want to just speak more extensively in English with you about maybe more complex topics. to give you the time of practice, that could be a great way to prepare for the test as well. And then we have a question on the essay question number 5 and the application requirement. I'm not sure exactly how that question is phrased, but the question does relate to what would be your federal employment goals. So what's really expected of you in that question is for you to have done some research on a position or agency that you would be interested in joining after the program. And you can review the selection criteria on all essay questions, what the reviewers are looking for in terms of your answer. But what they're looking for is also that you've done the research, that you're interested in a career in the government, and that you have some amount of specificity in terms of your interests. So maybe you list certain positions, certain agencies that you've explored and why you think that would definitely be a good fit for your skills. You don't necessarily need to be extremely specific and say, I need to absolutely work at the FBI and that's all I want to do and that's it. You can still keep it broad and show that you may have interest in other agencies or roles as well. And for anyone who hasn't filled out the poll yet, you can take a moment to let us know how you heard about EHLS. And we'll stay here just a little bit more for any other questions. And of course, there's other opportunities for Q&A at our other live Q&A sessions where we can answer your question. And I think it's helpful to see other candidates' questions as well.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, you can also reach out to us at any time if anything comes up.
And I will be at the Georgetown Public Library on Friday. If you haven't met me before and haven't come to one of the in-person, if you've come before, you don't have to come again. It's the same, information shared. But if you haven't and you'd like to meet in person, please come by. It starts at 11:30 at the Georgetown Public Library, not Georgetown University Library, the Public Library on Wisconsin Avenue, Book Hill.
Yes, and we have a question on whether we offer this program without a scholarship. And note, the only format of this program is that it's a scholarship program, and we have 18 scholars who have a full tuition paid by the federal government to attend the Georgetown academic program and a living stipend as well.
And I've often gotten the question, can I take only one portion of the program? Like, can I only take the part-time online? No, it's a package deal.
We had a question on use of your personal laptop, and actually we'll definitely keep you posted or keep checking our website, because we'll be posting those requirements soon on specific technical requirements for what is needed to be in the program in terms of use of your personal laptop. But you don't need to have a laptop with those requirements to apply. That's only once you've been offered a scholarship.
And I wouldn't go out and buy a laptop right now, unless it's for your own personal. I mean, don't buy a laptop in anticipation of getting into the program, is what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's a question on requirements for a resume. I think the tip I mentioned earlier of kind of explaining any gaps and making sure that both your resume and how you fill out the other sections in the portal match and make sense for an external reader. You can also check for I think USA Jobs has like a resume template for kind of federal type resume formats and things like that. So they might be different tips for you to explore. But really, I think what you should aim for is kind of the readability and how efficient it might be for your reader to understand what your career has been in your education.
And just I wouldn't go crazy with, perfecting your resume or trying to do a federal style resume. That will come later. But as Matilda said, it should be readable, easy to read, and it should, follow some of the basic, resume features. Like it shouldn't be 11 pages. It should be maximum a page and a half, that sort of thing. But clarity is really, what you should aim for at this point on that resume.
And then we have a question which is very pertinent about, do you have to be a native speaker? I think this makes a lot of sense, especially as our application process includes the testing, and we've had more question on the ILR scale. Native speaker can kind of be a broad term, and so this is why we test your critical language for this ILR level 3. So you have to be a native speaker in the sense that you have to have professional level competence in your native language, and this is what the oral proficiency interview in your critical language will assess.
And if I may jump in there about this, Matilda, if you have gone to school at a higher institution and have been schooled in that language, that is an indicator of your professional level and your ability to maneuver like a native speaker. But that test will definitely, the OPI in your heritage language will definitely be an indicator for us.
And then we have a question about the security clearance. So the specific question is whether being in the process of obtaining that clearance might limit someone's option to travel. I can't speak specifically to that aspect of the question, but we do have information on our website now relating to security clearance. And you would scroll to the working for the government portion of our website that kind of explains GS levels, a little bit about the service requirement, and then we've added a document on security clearance with information, but also explaining that you do not need a clearance, of course, to apply to the program, and the program does not provide you a clearance, and that is something that the hiring agency takes care of. So that's sort of as much as I can answer to that question. But if you're kind of curious about that aspect of federal government work, I would encourage to check out that part of our website where we have just some more information on that. And we'll also have a webinar that Maria mentioned of what to expect during and after EHLS. And that will also go a little bit into working for the government and security clearance questions.
And actually, it depends on the job that you have. Anna, you're the one that asked that question. It depends on your job, and it might be different job to job, whether or not you can travel internationally. And sometimes I know that some agencies will take your passport and hold them for you, so that you would have to request the passport back and then document that you were about to travel. So it really depends. We can't just say, no, you can't travel, or yes, you can. It depends on what situation you're in and which job you have, which agency you're with, and what their requirements are.
Yes. And then we have a question on any specific language being preferred. So there's no quota for the language. So we accept 18 scholars into the program. And so those 18 scholars can be 18 Turkish speakers. It's not a requirement. It could be, you have as much of a chance. This is really, you're one of the 9 languages this year, and your application is successful, and that will move you forward into the program as equally as any other language.
And you have to speak one of those languages. You cannot, other years we were recruiting for what, 26, 27 languages. This year it's only 9. And if your language is not one of those 9, you cannot apply this year.
And then we have a question on, can you travel after graduation? I think this typically happens that some scholars might, after graduation, want to travel. I mean, the question of traveling internationally, again, cannot happen until August 2025, until the end of the program. And then any process that you might be in terms of being hired into a federal government job might limit your opportunities in terms of international travel. So that is kind of a case-by-case basis.
And also, you remember that if you are going to be going for a clearance and you're traveling internationally, when you do your SF-86, those are all the people that you meet while you're doing this traveling will have to be included, and it'll make your application, your SF-86 application, even longer. So keep that in mind. After graduation, you don't have to, you have up to 3 years upon graduation to find a job. So if you want to travel, that's up to you. But just remember what Matilda just said, and the fact that perhaps, you will have to include more people on that SF-86 if you're going for a clearance.
Yeah, and Maria, I don't know if you have any thoughts on, we have two questions on, I'm not a native speaker, can I apply? I think what you said about having had some formal education in the language would be,
you have to at least be able to read and write.
yeah.
So if you cannot read and write, then you should not apply. Because you're going to have to do research in that language. Will you be able, and that's the other thing, that'll help you. Will you be able to do research in that language?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a guide for you. And languages change yearly. Yes, they do.
Yes, they're based on federal agency need every year.
And I think we talked about the financial support. You get $3,600 a month while you're in the program full-time, January to June. And then you get $1,200 while you are a part-time online.
And then there's a question about sort of in the application, how to say, I'm guessing would be like, how do I say, I have this experience from now to the present. And whether that field is hard to fill out. I think that's a great question that we certainly would want to get answered for you from Meredith. So feel free to reach out to us or to Meredith directly. We have contacts listed on our website as well. And we'll make sure to answer that for you to make sure you can accurately represent your experience in the different fields of the portal.
If you're a native speaker of 2 languages and you have to choose one, we're only going to test you in one initially. And remember, the language that you choose and that you apply for, that is the language that you're going to have to do research on that OSAP project. So think about that. Which language do you feel the most competent with doing research, reading and writing, perhaps, and that should be the indicator of which language to choose. If you're equally good in both, then it's going to be a toss-up, and that's up to you.
Yeah, it's actually a good opportunity. Once scholars get into the program, they can test in if they have another language on our critical language list that they speak, they can test in that language, and that could be just another element that will be added to your
portfolio, right?
Portfolio that can be of interest for the people hiring you.
Right. But, you make that decision. And just remember, when you put that language down, we're going to expect you to do the research in that language. So you can't say, oh, but I speak this later in the program, but I speak this other language too. Well, that's not going to be the primary language that we're going to ask you to do the research in. You might be able to use it, but we're looking at the language that you applied with.
Great. Well, we're just about at time now, and if we haven't answered anything, please join any other webinar and Q&A, and we'd be happy to answer them. Please reach out to us. And thanks again so much for joining us. We're so happy
Thank
you have
you.
all these great questions and your interest in the program.
Really great. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.